What's going on, guys? It is your boy Rita. Initially I was going to talk about you know what, I wasn't going to talk about the Tudor. The 58 is nice. I've recently passed on that taupe silver. I'm not really sure why I passed on it. I just
So originally it came with a white dial with the loomed hour markers and a Jubilee bracelet.
So the Jubilee bracelet is a lot more popular, I agree. Everyone wants that Jubilee bracelet. Whatever it is, the Jubilee bracelet always comes first. But to me personally, I have a preference for the Oyster bracelet, so I happen to switch that.
Historically, the Oyster bracelet for one played a significant role in Rolex history. Even to date, when you talk about a vintage Rolex, the Oyster bracelet is an important element. It's a very crucial component to completing that assessment about the condition of the watch. And then again, generation after generation of improvement, we have it today, a bracelet that blends perfectly on the wrist with a simple clasp that works flawlessly. Classy, elegant, and sporty at the same time.
Now, regardless whether your choice is for a steel smooth bezel or a white gold fluted bezel, I personally like the white gold fluted bezel a lot more. There's about a dozen configurations for the dial that is available for you. For me personally, the way to go was to get, or add rather, the blue dial with the hour loomed filled markers. So I switched that too.
It is bright blue at times, but can also look darker, depending on how the light plays with the reflection.
And let me just tell you that it's not easy to find or configure the blue dial on the smooth steel bezel variation of the DateJust. I'm not really sure if this is the local AD's way of getting you to buy the much more expensive one, but here, it is not as easy as you think. So getting it on a fluted bezel and then swapping the dial for a blue dial, they work on initially a return policy, so you can take the old dial, you can return it to them and get a new dial, whether it be blue or anything else. But when it comes to the smooth bezel variation of the DateJust, that is not actually applicable. So you cannot return it and you cannot actually add it if you only got the smooth bezel DateJust registered to your name. It has to be the white gold version for some reason. Something I cannot understand, but that's actually the reality of what's going on here.
Now back to what I was saying earlier, the loomed hour markers on the blue dial, it adds a fun, more casual element to the DateJust. Unlike the Roman numeral variation that is strictly classic. Rolex maybe is catching up to the game late, I'm not really sure, or maybe just going in the same route as Patek or AP, where they had labeled their blue dials exclusive, boutique only exclusive. This is a word that I've been actually hearing lately at the local AD here in Dubai, that blue is exclusive, you can't get it easy, you have to have this XYZ purchase history, but in addition to that, you have to request it and go on a wait list for a blue dial. Now, whether this is going to fly or not and for how long, I cannot answer that question, but what I can tell you, there is no denying that the demand for the blue dial DateJust is on the rise. And that's primarily because you simply can't get sport watches. So I wouldn't really call it a shift from sport watches, but just a rise in demand in terms of talking about classic watches with blue dials in general. The other day I even popped by Cartier. I've tried on the Demont on a gold case, which was really nice, a very classic watch, but I quickly asked about a Santos large on a blue dial and they told me that's a wish list and they're really hard to get right now. So yeah, I guess that's the case nowadays.
And you hear this a lot on social media. People tell you that the DateJust is an entry model from Rolex. It is your gateway to sport watches from Rolex. And my response to that is very simple. Is it a gateway to potentially have a history? Yes, it is. I mean, in the sense that you got history patched to your name, so it gives you that sense of entitlement, but also in the eyes of your local AD or whatever you purchase this watch, as long as it's an authorized dealer, you've got history, so you're a returning customer, and that potentially can help you there. It's not just barging in and looking for a Submariner, for example. But I'm completely against saying that it's an entry-level watch, because it's not. And in fact, it shouldn't be looked at as a lower cost alternative to the Royal Oak or Patek Philippe date only complication. It's its own watch, it's got its own identity, it's got the history to back it all up. So in my own opinion, it is not an entry level watch. Some of the people, at least in my community here that I talk to that own some of these DateJust, have it as their only watch. It's the sport watch and it's also the classy watch. They're not talking about building a collection, it is just one watch and one watch only. And they decided to go for something like a DateJust. The blue dial of course adds the twist. The fluted bezel is my preference, and the reason why I switched it to an Oyster bracelet instead of the Jubilee is that it gives it that sport basically mirror. So you could have it as a classic watch, you could dress it up, but in the same time you can have it as a sport watch. My feeling is that the Oyster bracelet gives you that. It makes the watch basically sit hybrid between a classic watch and a sport watch, especially with those center polish links that you can, yes, scratch very easy.
This DateJust is the new reference 126334 with the updated power reserve that is 70 hours and a caliber 3235. It's a chunkier feel, thicker proportion, and somehow it feels like its own separate lineage than the previous DateJust. But in fact, an iconic family line from Rolex for someone who wants to have a watch and one watch only, so you're not talking about building a collection, but surely after an all-rounder watch, classy and sporty with the Oyster bracelet and the dial color that fits all occasion, and that is the blue dial. If you guys enjoyed this quick video, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys up next. Take care.